Welcome, everybody. It is the 11th of May, 2021, and we are, as usual, on the Lavenia Success Mastermind. Who can I see on my screen? I can see Gail, I can see Mark, I can see Daisy, I can see Therese, I can see John Apogee, I can see Cyril, Ingrid, Manny, Sandra, and Lindsay, and of course, the birthday girl. Happy birthday, Janet M. We love you, love. Wishing you a healthy and a happy birthday.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet.
Virginia has just joined us, and Lynn Jackson as well. Welcome, everyone. What was coming up for me today was, what would it be like if going forward, hi, Edward, if going forward, we saw bad as good in disguise? And I'll explain in a minute what I mean by that. So we know that life is going to throw us curveballs, right? It's going to throw us lemons. And what can we do? We can make lemonade, or we can squeeze our faces and smart at the sourness of the lemons and go, oh my God, that's sharp, right? But if we make lemonade on a lovely, sunny day, we can sit outside and just sip it, right? And it's enjoyable. But both experiences have still come from lemons, right? And we know life is going to send us lemons, right? We're going to hit that curve in the road. We're going to go around that bend. But how we choose to, one, perceive it, how we choose to decode it, how we choose to learn from it, how we choose to interpret, that scenario or that experience determines if we're going to have that squeeze face at the sharpness of the orange, of the lemons, or if we're going to have that pleasurable experience sipping our lemonade, right? So the title for today is, can we from today decide individually and collectively to see bad as good in disguise? And I'm just going to use, a very obvious example. The whole world has been through this. So in the last year to 18 months, COVID has happened, right? But I want to see COVID in a good light. For a lot of people, I know it's not been the best of times, stuff has happened, but let's flip that experience and let's try and draw out as many good points as we can from the last 18 months, 2 years, however long, it's affected you in your local community. When I think of the family unit, a lot of parents, and this is a generalization, so there's a caveat before I go further in this session. Please don't take this as gospel, right? This is just some of my observations with some of the interactions that I've had. It's not a very general view. It doesn't mean it's happened 100% of the time. It's just some observations that I have made from the last 12 to 18 months in my community, right? A lot of parents pre-COVID had abdicated a lot of their responsibility to teachers, to au pairs, to nannies, to aunts, uncles, nursery, daycare, you name it, right? They weren't really doing as much as they possibly could. That's because life was full, right? Their plates were overflowing. They had too many balls in the air. There was just so much going on, right? But what I found was that COVID created an opportunity for the family unit to be focused again on the family unit, right? So now you found that parents were homeschooling, mothers and fathers were sharing the duties in the house. I mean, it just wasn't all mom doing everything, right? Everyone was chipping in, everyone was carrying their weight, right? And I want to believe that family units have gained a lot of good from this time together. If I think of Christmas, right? Just how many months ago? 5, 6 months ago, right? Maybe 4.5, 5 months ago. Christmas was not the big commercial hoo-ha fanfare that it has become in recent times. It was so downscaled, right? That we got a lot of nuclear families gathered around the table and being grateful for the things that mattered, right? It was no longer all about the material things. Did I get that new shiny toy that's being, advertised on every platform, right? It was about, oh my goodness, we are here as a family. Everyone is present and accounted for. We're healthy. We've got food on our table. We've got clothes on our backs. We've got roofs over our heads. It just gave us a moment to reconnect with those things that are important, right? So from a family front, I think relationships in the family unit were cemented, were strengthened, were enhanced. The focus, went back to what's real, what's important, right? As opposed to everything else we were chasing pre-COVID, right? So that's just one example of, yeah, it was a bad thing, right? And for some of us, we're still going through it or coming slowly out of it, right? So it wasn't a good experience. But what lessons can we draw out of that, right? In the midst of COVID, I mean, for me, neighbors were neighborly once again. We looked out for one another, right? I mean, I don't know what it's like in your community, but we have a lot of neighborhood apps that came up, in COVID. And things like if you needed to print a document, right? And because you couldn't get to the office or you didn't have a printer at home, you could put a message on this app, right? And just say, oh my goodness, I need to print a document. Who out there has a printer? Who wouldn't mind? I'm happy to drop the disk off through your letterbox. I'll happily wait outside. If you can help me print this out, I'll be forever grateful. Little things like that, right? Neighbors were being neighborly, right? We were looking out for the elderly in our communities, those who couldn't or didn't want to go to the shops. We were taking grocery lists from them. And when we went shopping, we were buying, a few of their items for them. And we were coming and we're delivering those things to our neighbors. We were looking out for each other, right? If we hadn't seen a neighbor's curtain drawn back or, we hadn't seen them in the garden, the mailman, maybe mail was mounting or they'd had deliveries and it was still sitting outside, we were vigilant, right? We would go and gently knock and go, oh, June, are you okay? Or, Ben, are you fine? Is there anything you need? We were doing each other's lawns. It was just, people were people again. We were connecting on a nuclear level, on a person to person level. Suddenly, Zoom calls were not just, oh my God, we've got another virtual meeting to go to. It was like our only way of connecting, right? And sometimes those conversations with friends and family the world over had so much meaning that we looked forward to those communications because we knew we had no alternative to connect with our loved ones, right? So where, you could send a text and, you could choose whether you were going to reply to the text or not, or you could choose to, send an email, or you could hop on a flight and actually spend quality time with them in person. The little we had, we treasured. Because suddenly it was like, oh my goodness, right? This is a lifeline. I get to see another face, We were asking, how are you? And waiting to hear the answer. Not that, how are you? We did pre-COVID. And the person would actually want to stop and tell us how they are. But we've moved on. We've either changed the conversation topic or we've moved on to the next person. So why did we bother asking, how are you? If we weren't going to wait for the answer, right? But in the last 12 to 18 months, we've been so focused on one another and actually being friendly and neighborly and humane again, right? We haven't been so robotic as in, oh my God, I've got to get there and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. It was like, once again, we connected to what it was like to actually be in touch with each other, right? So that's another like glaringly obvious from my observations. And once again, it's not generalizing and I'm not saying this is what you should have experienced. I'm just saying from where I am. So if we move that forward into our business environment, sometimes we, for instance, okay, most of us here are on Amazon, right? So you might launch a product and, the product isn't selling and it's not doing what you want it to do, or maybe the price point is too high, or maybe you've sent 200 units in and this is like week 4 and you haven't sold one item. Now, how can we flip that on its side and say, you know what, from all of that, what is the good that I can pick out of this, right? How can I reframe this bad and say, this experience is actually a good experience in disguise, right? What layers do I have to peel back? So for instance, that product may just be maybe its time hasn't come, right? So it might not sell today, but who knows what it's going to do 3 months down the line. So you might want to take that back and maybe just keep it on the back burner because you believe that the research you did is only a matter of time. It will take off, right? Or the journey you went through to get that product live could have been your trial run for your one that's going to boom, that's going to sell off the shelves, right? That could be your learning curve where, you know what, I tried it with this product and you know what, this hasn't really sold, but at least now I know what I'm doing. So the next time round, I'm going to be quicker, I'm going to be more efficient, I'm going to be sharper. I know exactly what to say to the suppliers. I know what lead times I need. I know what it's going to cost me at Amazon in terms of, storage costs, PPC, whatever. Take it as a learning curve, right? Flip it on its side and say, you know what? If I had a choice, I probably won't have chosen to go through that experience. But if I choose to see it as a good thing in disguise, what can I pull out of it? What can I take out of it, right? So something else that was coming up for me, I got a bit of news probably about 3 weeks or so ago now. And a friend of mine, really close friend, suddenly had a diagnosis, a cancer diagnosis. And, the report was like, it's fairly advanced and blah, blah, blah. And so they're undergoing treatment, right? And I just thought to myself, flip side, I know it's a bad thing, but what can I take? How can I draw something good from this? And so I looked at my relationship with this person and I said, you know what, maybe this is the space and the time that this person needs to focus on themselves, to invest in themselves, to become a better version of themselves, right? Because, this person, if you were going to choose who you want for a close friend, probably won't make your list. I'm just, openly fessing up here, right? But everybody, I believe, has a bit of good in them. But sometimes we just need that permission, that time out, that space to just be, so we can do and make the decisions that are best for us, right? So I know this person is going to be eating super healthily now. I know this person is going to be working out, when they have the energy to do that. I know this person is going to be more open to receiving from friends, right? And having people come to their aid, right? Where previously it was almost like I can do it by myself, right? I'm an island. I'm all self-sufficient. I don't need anybody. But maybe now Mother Nature has orchestrated events such that suddenly you can't do it all on your own anymore. So you have to rely on outside help. And definitely part of that outside help with medical professionals, because this person doesn't know, what the treatment is about. They might need physical therapy, it depends on, how bad the chemo or radiation or whatever affects them, right? They might need somebody to help them with their groceries, right? Maybe the day after chemo, they might just be in bed the whole day and can't be bothered to get up, can't cook, can't whatever, right? But this is like good in disguise because suddenly it's going to make this person wake up and appreciate that there are people around you that actually want to be around you. You do have a support network. You don't have to go through this alone, right? So that's just another example, right? And then I've been thinking about work, right? I mean, I know most people are like, oh my God, they miss the social interaction at work, the banter by the coffee machine, by the printers, they miss their commutes because, the commute gives them that, that time to shut down. So it's like they leave home at home or they leave the office at the office. So there's a distinction between work and home life, right? And so for a lot of people, they've missed all of that. And so for them, this whole 12-month, we've had, I don't know how many iterations of lockdown in the UK, right? So for a lot of people, they've been like, oh my God, I missed that. But for me, I almost thought, I don't miss the commute. It used to take me 2.5 hours to get to my office and another 2.5 hours to get back home. That's 5 hours every day, getting to an office and back. I don't miss that because suddenly I have 5 hours back every day, right? With those 5 hours, I have done so much. I can join JLSM calls, right? Because I've been at home. I can read more books because I've been at home. I can structure my workday. So now I'm not rushed to complete everything in like a 5-6 hour span. I can spread it out. I'm producing better quality of work, right? I can mull over stuff. And it's just, I mean, this is just a few things that I can mention. And quite frankly, I have less interruption as well. So when I work, it's focused time, it's productive time. And I know it's time I blocked out. And at the end of that period, I have something concrete to say, this is what I've been working on for the last 2 hour block, or for the last 3 hours, or for the last 4 hours. Where if I was in the office, oh my God, by the time this one comes and that one comes, and someone's having a conversation behind me that is so loud, I cannot hear myself think, right? Or people are walking up and down the corridor, like, they're not in an office, they're on, at the beach, or just shouting somebody's name across the office floor, or at the printer, suddenly there's a paper jam and it's just so noisy. I can't crunch the numbers. I'm a numbers person. So I'm like spread over spreadsheets, and I'm, trying to get a risk profile. And I'm thinking, I need to hear myself think, oh my God, I need peace and quiet. These numbers need to make sense, right? So I don't miss that hustle and bustle of the workplace, right? And besides, I never left my desk anyway when I was in the office. So that whole interact in the corridor really wasn't me, because when I was at work, I was at work. If I was on lunch, then I would connect to people, say hello. If I was walking up the stairs and you happened to walk past me, I'd probably stop like 2 minutes. But once I was at my desk, it was head down, work time, right? So I don't, those interactions I don't miss, right? So when I hear people go on about how bad something is, I want to say to us, can we refrain? Can we flip it on its side and choose to see every negative, every bad experience as something that's actually good for us, but dressed up as something else, good in disguise, right? That's what's coming up for me today. And so there was one other example I was going to bring up. So, sometimes a relationship ends, and yeah, it might be painful. You may have liked the person. You're thinking, oh my God, I could see this, having legs going the distance, blah, blah, blah. But suddenly, okay, it's fizzled out, or it's, fine, take time out, mourn the loss. It's the end of something. Yes, it's an experience. You probably wanted it to be different, but think of what could be. One, you definitely have a better understanding of who you are and how you function in a relationship, because having that interaction with another person has given you a fresh perspective of what you're like, and who you are in a relationship. So you've learned a lot more about yourself, one. Two, you probably have a better idea of what's a non-negotiable. So the next time around, you pretty much know you're not even gonna, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. No. You probably know, nah, I don't want to do that again, right? So the next time round, you have a better idea of that experience. No, thank you. If I have a choice, I ain't doing that, right? Thirdly, you might have a better idea of the kind of person you want to be with, right? Because now you can suddenly stream down and streamline. Okay, next time around, I want somebody who's more caring, or maybe more helpful around the house, or somebody who gets me, or somebody who gives me a bit more time to talk because I like talking. I just want to, or somebody who communicates more, or somebody who's more gentle. I mean, whatever it is, right? You just get a sharper perspective of what it is you want. So even though the breakup, the walk away, the dissolution may have been painful, it gives you a lot of ammunition for the next time around. So the experience in and of itself may not have been fantastic, may not be something you necessarily want to go through again, but from that experience, there can be so much good. That good was just wrapped up in the bad experience, right? But once you take the disguise off, you get to see the good for what it is. And so what I'm asking us as a family, individually and collectively, is from today, can we start reframing? Can we start interpreting? Can we start perceiving a bad situation, a negative situation, as a good or a positive in disguise? Because I think our energies will be better used, right? The takeaways we'll get will serve us better. We will end up being definitely better versions of ourselves. Our businesses will thrive, right? And we won't spend so much time having what I call a pity party, right? where you sit down and it's like, oh my God, why did this happen to me? And woe is me. Oh, I wish it hadn't happened. And yeah. You know, it's like you spend less time doing that. I'm not saying don't mourn the loss of something, or don't acknowledge the feelings that are coming up as a result of the bad experience. Absolutely work through that. But I believe if we choose to see bad as good in disguise, that downtime, yeah, where we're so introspective, can be shortened and more productive than would have been if we just saw the situation and the experience as all bad and couldn't glean anything good from it, right? So that's what was coming up for me. And I'm just saying to myself, oh my God, how many times, right, have I maybe shortchanged myself by not unraveling that bad situation and picking out the pearls of wisdom, right, that I could have gathered from that, that could have served me the next time around, right? Because if there's one thing that's going to happen, life is ups and downs, ups and downs. It's not a smooth sailing road. It's not, you know, calm sea. Sometimes we get some serious waves, and, you know, sometimes water comes into the boat, right? And we've got to, like, you know, bail the water out. So that's life, right? It's even a kid, right? A baby, when they start to walk, you know, they take this first few steps, but then they fall flat on their bums. But they don't stop. They get up again and try again, right? So if a baby can have ups and downs, why do we think that as grown-ups, we're not going to have ups and downs, right? But what I'm saying is, from today going forward, can we choose to say, you know what, that situation, if somebody was going to ask me, do you want to go through that? My answer would have been no, but you know what, it's happened. So I'm going to flip it on its side, and I'm going to choose to see this as good in disguise. And I'm going to pull out everything that's worth anything that's likely to serve me. I'm going to pull it out of this experience so that the next time round, I'm better equipped. I'm a better version of myself, right? So that's what was coming up for me. So a lot of us, you know, talk about, COVID and lockdowns and, you know, how bad it is and, you know, how, you know, disappointed we are. But let's flip it. Let's change, right, the conversation. Let's put a positive spin on it. I'm not saying deny that it's happened. I'm not saying don't acknowledge what's coming up in terms of feelings, you know, of loss or disappointment or whatever. I'm not saying ignore all of that, because if you bottle that in, it's going to explode at some point when you least expect it, and it's going to cause more damage than you wanted to. But what I am saying is, after you've acknowledged and after you've seen that, yes, it's not something you would have chosen, can we choose rather to channel our energies into unpacking that bad experience and gleaning everything good from it, so that the next time around, right, we're better equipped. We have more knowledge, we have more skills, we have greater strength to weather the next storm, right? So what I wanted to do today, you know, after saying all of that, was, what are your observations? What are some examples that are coming up for you that could be, right, termed a bad situation or a bad experience? And what are the good things you could glean from it? So if you were going to say, okay, this happened. Now it's an exercise, right? And the more we do this, practice is going to make us perfect, right, at this. The more we practice this, the more we do this, the easier it's going to be, the more comfortable we're going to be doing it. The first few times, it's probably going to be mighty uncomfortable because it's not our default mode of processing stuff. But I'm saying, in the safety of this platform, for as many people as feel, you know, they want to or can or have examples, let's share as many examples as we can come up with today on this call, because you never know. One of us may be going through that experience right now, where what you glean, that good that you see in disguise, may just be the perspective they need to get out of the rut they're in. So let's make this session today practical. And I'm going to open it up now, and I'm going to say, what observations have you made in the last 12 to 18 months or whenever, where something bad or negative or not the greatest has happened, but because we're choosing to flip it on its side, we're choosing to reframe it from today, how would you reframe it as good in disguise? So the floor is open. Hi, John. The magnet.
Hi, how are
Hey, I'm
you?
good, thank you. How are you?
You got your hair down and everything?
Yes, I did.
You look awesome.
Thank you.
I just had this cognition like within the last 2 days. I had a situation that was mildly fruitful, very frustrating, made me a couple $100,000, but didn't really get me as far down the path as I wanted to get. And I was lamenting that and licking my wounds. And some people, it's all relative. Oh, a couple $100,000, right? That's nice. Okay, well, what if your goal is to make that every month, right? So I was looking at the cup half empty. In fact, let's say 10% full, and not looking at what other combinations can come from that. So, and I'm being vague because I don't want anybody, pigeonholing themselves, thinking, well, he's not speaking my autobiography. Okay, but the idea is that I had concluded. Here are all my considerations, and the conclusion that I came to was that was a failure. That was not something that I want to experience again. And then guess what? Hits just keep on coming, because now there are new combinations that came out of that scenario that look like they very much can deliver the way I expect, right, to my standards. One of the things we read last night from T. Harv Eker in The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind is about thinking big, right? Whereas a lot of times people think small, play small, accept small wins, tolerate small losses. The whole thing's small. And so I realized, or I cognited that, what? A stepping stone, that's valid. We talk about outgrowing your post, being bigger than your current station in life. Wallace Waddle, Science of Getting Rich, right? That's all good talk. That's good talk, man. Oh, I like that. I hear those words coming out of my mouth. I sound friggin' smart. Man, I'm so evolved. Great, now do it. And so I'm here to declare to my family, to this group, to some of my most cherished people in planet Earth and beyond, I'm doing it, going to the next level. And so, and please hold me to account on that. But I've played small in life. Here I am millions of dollars down the road, recognizing I've been playing small. And it's been the roller coaster. But I'll tell you what, we learn quicker when we make big, bold moves. And I think that learning happens. What I'm getting from what your talk is today, Ivié, learning happens when we assess the entire scene, not just sitting there looking at, oh, this didn't work out the way I wanted to, or woe was me, or any of this other victim stuff, right? It's like, oh, here's the rest of the story, which you don't know, by the way, because you haven't experienced it yet. Anyway, feeling kind of lighthearted today. That's kind of the theme of the week, isn't it? Like, we're having fun and we're expecting greatness. Isn't that what we started with yesterday?
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. I never know what's going to come out of my mouth until I hear it. Anyway, back to you.
Thank you so much, John. And that is true. I mean, we need to plan to play bigger. We need to aim higher. I mean, there's so much more that we can do. And I like it when people say, write down your goals, how much you want to make annually or monthly. And I think Glenn has also been said this a few times. Add another zero to it, or maybe a couple of zeros, right? If it doesn't scare you, right, then it's not big enough. Our dreams and our objectives and our goals need to be so big that if it's achievable, then it's not stretching you. It's not really, you're not reaching, you're not stretching, right? It means you can do it with your eyes closed. then what's the point? Because you're going to use that energy anyway. So you might as well aim for something massive, right? And just go all out. Why do halfway between here and there? So I'm like, yeah, if the best I think is this, yeah, double it. Let's just keep going. Let's go big or go home, right? Why do half measures, right? And part of that is how we choose to see things that happen to us. I mean, like John was saying, we never see the full picture. So even when that bad experience has happened, you're only seeing it from that perspective that you have, right? But to see the good in disguise means you got to take a couple of steps back and have perspective on the matter and really like look yourself in the mirror and say, look, we're going to be critical here. We're going to assess this properly, right? But when we're too close to it and we're doing that pity party thing, we lose perspective, right? So I'm just saying, as a family, let's just decide individually and collectively, let's flip it. Let's reframe this, right? So yeah, I don't see any other hands up. Does anybody else have another observation or experience to share that we can learn from? Virginia, yay, I see your hand. You're up.
Okay, let me take my hand down. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I actually I'm dealing with something right now that is coming up and I maybe could use some guidance with this. It's potentially negatives in my opinion, but I'm trying to turn the other cheek or do the right thing. So in my corporate job, which I announced yesterday that I am yet again, I've stepped down once from a senior role full-time to part-time. I'm only supposed to be working like 12 to 15 hours. And I took a pay cut of over 10% and I lost benefits, etc. But I gained, part-time where I could spend full-time doing my e-commerce business. So the situation is now I'm stepping down again. And as I said, burning the ships yesterday, but maybe just transferring over to a nursing role that I would work every once in a while as I needed to. So here's what's happening. They're asking me to do things before the end of the month that are no longer in my job duties. They're just asking me to do them because I'm either have been involved in that situation. Number one. Number two, they know I will do them correctly and get them done. And I'm really struggling with that. I'm not a senior position anymore. Why are you asking me to do, one more senior thing, which is going to take up a lot of my time before the end of the month? And then why are you asking me to, do other duties that you're trying to squeeze in because overall we're short-staffed and we need me to do it. So I'm flipping between pushing back with my supervisors, which I've been doing on this, to just going to HR and saying, they're asking me to do all these things that are no longer in my job duties and for a lower rate of pay, to just turning the other cheek and go, sure, okay, I'll do it, just to keep good relationships and not alienate these people that I have worked with for 3 years. Any thoughts on that? Did I explain that correctly? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think you did. And I'd love to open it to the family because I think everybody can weigh in on this. But right off the bat, from what you're saying, there were just a few questions that I was going to ask just to clarify things. You're stepping down. Has that already happened? Is that effective? Was there an effective date when you were going to step down?
I'm doing a second step down. So in other
Yeah,
words, I stepped down
so did you put
effective
a date
April
to the
1st.
step downs?
Yeah, April 1st, I went to part-time and I relinquished my role as a senior case manager for the Rocky Mountain region. And I'm just a regular old case manager like all the other ones.
Okay.
However, when you have that expertise and you have that knowledge, they still want to pull on that. So for instance, there is a project they want me to handle that we've been told all year, only the senior case managers do those. The regular case managers don't have to do them. And yet now that I've stepped down to a regular, they still want me to do one. And the reason is because they know I'll do it right, basically,
Mm.
you know, but it's not in my job duties anymore. So I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And just so not to create a negative environment moving forward. You never know. I mean, I don't mind burning ships. I don't want to burn bridges.
Okay. I mean, from what you're saying, you've already agreed to do it, right? So you can't now renege. You
I
can't.
did on that one, but now they're asking me to do yet something else.
Okay. So on the second one, you can actually go back and say, as a sign of good faith, you did it the first time around, but that now the reason why you've taken a second step down is because you have commitments, right? And so you don't even have the time to do the second thing they want you to do. And put it, frame it in a nice and courteous way where, you're kind of like saying to them, I wish I'd known about this when you asked me to do the first thing, then I could have, chopped and changed things around. But as it is now, I've stepped down again a second time, right? And so I don't have the capacity to take this on. I really wish I could help you, but on this occasion, I need to say no, right? When you frame it like that, you're not burning bridges, because there is precedent that you've come to their rescue once before after stepping down. But now you've done a further step down because your personal circumstances have changed and you need to look out for you, right? And so
Right.
you're going back to them to say, I wish I could on this occasion because I've done it before for you, but my personal situation has so much changed. That's why I've taken a second step down. And unfortunately, on this occasion, I can't come to your rescue, right? That way, you're one, acknowledging that they need your help and that they regard your expertise, but you're also being assertive and looking out for yourself, because what's the point in doing work that you're not going to get paid for, right? They can bring a consultant in, or they can pay somebody overtime who has the right experience to do that. So you need to stand your ground on this, because if you don't do this a second time around, I can tell you what's going to happen. There's going to be a third time and a fourth time. And each time they're going to get your time, your expertise, and they're not going to pay you for it.
Well, the second step down takes place May 1st. So what they're trying, and then they won't be able to utilize me after that because I'll be in a totally different department. But what they're trying to do is just squeeze in all this stuff between now and the end of May. I'm sorry, I said May 1st, June 1st. So
Okay.
they're trying to squeeze in everything between now and the end of May that they can get me to do that is really not in my job scope anymore.
Yeah, then just go back to them and frame it like that and just say, unfortunately, you're just not available this time around. You've done it the one time, and now because you're stepping down again, you've made some fundamental changes to your life, your situation, and you're just not, you don't have the capacity to take this on, and see what they come back with. And if it becomes, a peer, back and forth, then involve HR.
Gotcha.
But for now, I would say frame it, be courteous about it, acknowledge that they obviously value your input and your experience and value to the organization, but just say the reason why you stepped down a second time is because your personal circumstances have changed, and so you don't have the capacity to do this for them, right? And you're really sorry, but that's your answer this time around.
You want to
Right? So
draft
we don't
that
see you as
email
the bad
for me?
guy.
You want to draft that email for me? You're
Yeah, I'll send you something on Messenger, I promise.
No, I'm good. Thank you. That's wonderful advice.
You're welcome. I don't know, anybody else on the family, do you want to weigh in on this? Maybe give Virginia another perspective?
I don't mind stepping in for a second.
Yeah, sure, Mark.
And it's because it's a personal experience. And I see Cyril and Coral on here. So sorry, guys, if you'll bear with me for a second. Sonia, back in 2018, December, took a fall on the front porch. She damaged her handpiece hand. That's what kind of got this whole ball rolling initially for me into the e-commerce world, etc. She had surgery in February 2019. And the reason I bring this up is because the doctor who performed the surgery was a well-reputed, nationally recognized orthopedic surgeon for hand and arm surgery and shoulder surgery. She had a solicitation from Harvard to go back and teach in their medical school. And it was something that for years and years she had hoped that she could do. She was probably in her mid 40s by that time. And I understand she was a great doctor, had a lot of people knew, and the same thing kind of happened to her, I suspect, that with what Virginia's going through. Time gets compressed. There's a lot of surgeries on the docket. She's trying to push through to get those surgeries done, to be, a good doctor and to help as many people as she can. Well, we had to get a second opinion on her surgery because Sonia's hand wasn't healing in the time expected, and even beyond that. And the second opinion was that one of the screws she put in her forefinger was incorrectly sized, and it's working its
Ouch.
way out.
Mm,
So that's not good. Even though her intent, I think, and what she was attempting to do was try and make sure she was doing the best she could for everybody that she's servicing, she damaged one of her patients.
mm,
And the hospital is probably going to be in a, I won't go down that road right now because those are things that we're considering, but it's cost Sonia a great deal because she's had to pay a locum tenens doctor many times to come up here and handle the major surgeries in her dental office. And there's many, it's just the production that is normally expected out of that office for the last 20 years hasn't been getting that for about the last 2.5. So a big change.
mm.
So my comment to Virginia would be, it's great to have that idea about helping somebody and wanting to be there and support the effort. Make sure it's not in a situation where something like that, the quality of your care or your positioning or what you do can be compromised. That's all I'd say.
Great.
Kind of a
Thank you so
long-winded
much,
way of
Mark.
saying it, but that's
Yeah, for that
my
perspective. And
perspective.
that's important. Yeah. Because that could end up being, an added expense that nobody needs. And all the legalities of it. And absolutely. So Virginia, I hope that helps. I don't know if anybody else wanted to weigh in on that, or if Therese and Coral, you just wanted to add your own situations, or you wanted to feed into what Virginia was saying. Because Cyril, I know you're next because I saw your hand first. Nobody else? Okay, Cyril, you're up. Cyril, can you hear
Hi
us?
guys.
Hiya.
Hi. Sorry, on the previous thing, I've been reading Darren Hardy, The Compound Effect. Did this quite interesting and was really cool in the fact it phrased it. Particularly, he talks about framing. Talk about the little choices that compound to big effect. But one of his mentors very early on said to him, go out and fail big, go out and fail a lot. And what he took that to mean is, because he was doing sales at the time, was to go out and do all the stuff all the other salesmen don't want to do. So that, and what he then gained by that was the fact that he no longer was afraid of it. He actually started to enjoy it in the end. And that he ended up getting more sales than anybody else in his team because he was, he was able to, and in the beginning, he, obviously it wasn't, he didn't like it that much in the beginning, but by doing that, he not only grew used to the fact that because these people that he was talking to had been sold to or tried to be sold to over and over again, and that was part of the reason that the rest of his team didn't want to go there, was because these people had already been sold too much. But by doing that, he found other ways to approach them, and but also learnt. In fact, he was talking about the fact that he used to go, if he didn't feel some months that he had failed enough, he would go out and do it, because he felt that he'd learnt so much from what other people would call failure. So so there's a lot to be learned if we look in the right place, if we gain the lesson of and we do it enough. But sometimes I know that's something I really ought to have needed to learn the lesson, because I've always had a problem with going out and failing on purpose, or at least having a problem taking on that failure. But there's but it's an interesting way that he puts that. So I thought that was quite succinct and to this point. Okay, thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks, Cyril. Yeah, that's true. The number of times we don't get it right according to our definition of right. When we eventually do, we get it right, big time right. But in all those not right attempts, there's a lot of learning, and yeah, we just become better versions of ourselves. So when we eventually do get it right, it's a massive success, right? So yeah, that's all good. Thanks, Cyril. Coral, I know you had your hand up, but then you put it down again. Did you want to say something, because you were up before Therese?
Yeah, thanks. This is to do with what Virginia was saying, and I know you said, if you got something to weigh in with, then well, I didn't feel I had something to weigh in with, and I'm not weighing in. It's just that something came up when she was talking, and one of the greatest examples that we have here is John and Shannon. What do we pay per month, and what do they give us in return? It's invaluable. And so, Virginia, it's up to you to give the value that you feel you want to give for the money that you're receiving. And I find that what John and Shannon give us is just beyond words. And okay, you've given great advice, Ivié, from a human resources point of view, and that's probably a lot more useful than what I've got to say. But that's what I've learned, that giving value. I didn't think that you could actually do good business by giving stuff away for free. That wasn't the way I was taught to do business. You might just give enough away just to hook them in. That's it, but not the amount that John and Shannon give. So I just thought, they were a great example to throw into the mix here. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Coral. And that's what I meant by a fresh and a different perspective. So Virginia, end result, the choice is yours. You have a lot to think about, and it's what sits with you and what resonates best with you. So thank you so much, Coral, for that. That is valuable input. Thank you. Therese, you're next.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
We're
Nice to
good.
see you. Ivié, your hair looks beautiful. I like it.
Thank you.
I was like, what happened? Wait a minute. That's not her. Her alter ego showing up today.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to see everyone. I know I've been a little off. I've been a little out of the picture, and I just wanted to reach out and say hello, and doing my best to get back to it. And Virginia, I just wanted to make one quick comment. I think that it'll come back. Your efforts are obviously going to come back. Like giving your energy and your efforts in this situation, I think will come back to you in a positive way. I know sometimes it feels like you're being taken, well, you feel like you're being taken advantage of, clearly, and it's anyway, not without its issues. And of course, Ivié has such a wonderful way of wrapping yourself around it and keeping boundaries, in a professional way, which is great. And but I just have this feeling that it will come back in a positive way. So I know I've had some experiences like that, and I felt really frustrated by it, and a little put off and miffed. But it was the best thing to do, was to just be present and help them, especially during this time of COVID. It's kind of unprecedented for everyone. So anyway, good luck to you. And I just want to let everyone know I've just been really busy, focusing in on jobs. I feel like all of a sudden things are starting to have some return for me. So I've been applying for so many different jobs for a year, and it's been lackluster at best. So I feel like in the last 3 weeks, all of a sudden there's been a lot of response. So I've been doing a lot of interviewing. I've been doing a lot of weighing pluses and minuses. And again, these are not positions that are specific to my wellness. I'm still trying to build my business. I'm still navigating campaigns and PPC and spending a fortune every month for Amazon, which is perplexing to me. And again, still trying to build my my wellness business, which is my big picture. But I really do need to get back to an income and work. So I think it was really interesting as I've applied for all these opportunities in sales, but within a wellness capacity. You know, I don't have enough credentials, or I don't have enough experience, or it's really interesting that none of the opportunities are at all really related to what my passion is. I mean, it's all sales, and it's the jewelry industry, which all of a sudden is just coming back into my life. So I guess, you know, and again, you know, I've got this great offer from an Italian company, which is really wonderful because I'm Italian and I have this dream of having a little small property there, and, you know, bringing my family back together to where my father was born. And I think it's interesting that both companies that I'm communicating with for sales position are in the jewelry environment, and they're both Italian based. So I'd be an employee of an Italian company. And then I'm like, well, that's a huge commitment. It's going to take me completely in a different path. One of them is developing the West Coast, and then I'll hire a team to manage what I've developed, which is much more suited to my level of experience in the business world. But it's going to keep me completely away from my wellness practice. I might be able to squeeze a little time in here and there, but it's 12 states plus, well, actually 13 to 15, depending. So my 12 Western, 11 Western 12, and 1 or 2 extras. So that's going to be a huge undertaking. Then the other one that gave me an actual firm offer currently, it's actually a second response because I countered their original. Again, it's like the base pay is what I was making 17 years ago, the very first company I went on the road with, you know, 17 years ago. And it's like, you guys want me because I have this, I know this territory back and forth. I know people and I've got all this experience, but nobody wants to pay you any money. So I guess I'm just saying, you know, that's frustrating. I'm kind of curious what anyone thinks about, you know, back into the jewelry world. Do I keep looking? Do I take a lower paying job just to be able to continue working on my wellness practice? You know, I don't know. I'm just kind of curious what thoughts are. I'm still negotiating, or we're still sort of working out the nuts and bolts of the West Coast opportunity. So I've given them a couple territory plans. And we know we're talking back and forth right now. And on top of that, I just applied willy-nilly for Sky West. They're hiring right now. And, you know, they want me to go off to flight attendant training. But again, this like pay is minimal. Like I wouldn't even be able to, I don't even know where I would live. I couldn't live in Portland for that pay. But, and then I have another interview next week with a hospital, which is a schedule coordinator, which is again, not my super forte, but so anyway, I just wanted to throw some stuff out there, what's been going on. You guys have all been on my mind. I've been watching best I can, but I've been pulled in a completely different direction, and I needed to just get my hat on and stay focused on that. So I had to step away. But anyway, nice to see you. I'd love anyone's input, thoughts, words of encouragement, whatever you got for me. Thank you.
Sounds like you've been having fun. Geez, talk about a varied set of options to think about.
I know it's all over the place because I just started the person I've been working with that redid, you know, I've got 2 different resumes, 2 different LinkedIn profiles. I mean, I haven't been resting on any laurels, you know, and I'm also trying to really build this wellness business, doing more and more posts, trying to get engagement. And, you know, she said, just start applying for jobs just so that you can practice it. It's been a long time since you've been doing it, and don't worry about it. If it looks mildly interesting, apply for it. So that's kind of what I've been doing, and this is where we are. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, there are a couple of things I'll say. I mean, I think right off the bat, you said you need a regular income stream coming in. So I think that's a definite, that's non-negotiable. We don't have to think about that, right? So that's kind of like the objective.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question is, what are you going to do to make that a reality, right? And it looks like right now there is 3 different opportunity streams that are biting to make that one reality happen. So one being in the jewelry industry, the second one being, you know, SkyWest, and then the third one being the hospital, right? But from what you're saying, or from what I understand you're saying, the best fit right now sounds like the jewelry route, but the jewelry route is not wanting to pay the right amount of money for where you're at. And if I understand from what you're saying, that's probably where your background and your experience is best suited to, of all the three that are open to you right now, if I understood what you were saying properly. Because of COVID and everything else has happened, and industries finding themselves again and coming back to business, a lot has shifted. Pre-COVID, you would have found that the base offer would have been a lot better, right? So a lot of companies are, you know, trying to really manage their day-to-day overheads, and that includes payroll, right? So that could be part of what is feeding into this low bid, this low offer environment that you're seeing right now. And what I say to people, because I mean, I just went through a whole hiring thing where I work. So I've been doing interviews and you know, seeing different kinds of people and getting resumes and stuff. And what I will say is, there's always a way, if you like the company, because you mentioned something, it's like a dream that it doesn't look like you put it on your battle board, but it's something that's been in the back of your mind about wanting to have a place back in Italy so you could get your family together. So that sounds like it's one of those dreams you've just let sit on the back burner for a while. But as soon as these two Italian companies cropped up, that dream surfaced again. So that tells me that just the fact that those two companies are Italian, the synergy with something deep inside of you, like resurrected, was reborn, you know, just came to the surface again. So that's possibly another objective or dream that you could possibly tick by associating with either of these companies. What I have said to people in the past is, if you find that the initial offer or counter offer is not exactly what you're looking for, but you feel this is a company you want to associate with, and you think it's a company you can grow with, I always say to people, nothing stops you from taking something and actually agreeing before you accept it that there will be a review in 3 months or 6 months. Because if what you do in the first 3 to 6 months shows, you know, that you're worth your metal and that you know what you're talking about and you can actually, you know, bring the numbers in, then you should be able to renegotiate, right? That door should be open. You should be able to have an honest conversation. And what I've said to people sometimes is put down a ballpark figure and say, look, in the next 3 to 6 months, I commit to doing this or bringing this to the table, right? When I do that, I expect us to have a conversation so that we can renegotiate this figure. And I can tell you, this is the range I will be looking at. If they are willing to agree on that before you start on day one, then you know you have a target, they also have a target, and everybody's agreed on it. So it's almost like, you know what, going in, cards were on the table. Nobody was being, you know, evasive, nobody was being vague. We made this as real and as honest and as open as we possibly could, right? So I've always said to people, always leave that door open so you can renegotiate, right? And that's provided you do what you say you're going to do, because it's a give and take thing, right? If for whatever reason their profiles, their ethics, their values don't resonate with you, then it's a non-starter. Don't even have that conversation with them. If you can, hold out for what it is you're looking for, right? So it really, at the end of the day, depends on what the time frame is you've given yourself to getting that revenue stream coming in while you focus on your wellness business and while you focus on looking for that opportunity that's going to make that revenue stream a reality, right? Only you know what the time frame is, how critical, how urgent that revenue coming in is. If it's 6 months, then you got time to wait, right? But if it's only 2 to 3 months, then you got to get something tomorrow, right? So you don't run out of your current resources before something else starts flowing in, because you don't want to be caught out and you don't want a gap between your resources, your savings, and something else kicking in, right? So you need to sit and assess the pros and cons of if I go with this or if I go with that, right? No one's traveling right now. I mean, I know in the US, the numbers are coming back, passenger traffic is coming back, but albeit slowly, it's still domestic, right? So SkyWest is still only going to offer the minimum, right? They're not going to, and most, cabin crew, they bring you in from the ground and they train you up, right? You don't, very rarely do you come as cabin crew and start at a really high level unless they're moving you from a sister company. It's very rare. I'm in that industry, right? So I know, what the wages are. And here, most cabin crew are unionized because of pay, problems, right? So that is a long that's a long thing to unravel. It's not going to go away tomorrow. Pay is a big issue in the airline industry, and nowhere has got it right. So once again, do you want to be embroiled in that kind of massive negotiation where you on your own, you can't really make a dent in that because most people belong to a union and it's negotiated from the top down. Yeah, it's a big monster to take a bite out of, right?
Yeah.
And then the hospital thing, that seems to have some kind of transferable skills or synergy or intersection point with your wellness subject matter and your wellness interests. So that could still be a way for you to have one leg or some sort of association with the wellness industry, right? Where maybe what you could do, I mean, I don't know how allowable or how advisable this is in the US, you might get clients that could end up being private clients, or you might end up meeting family members. You can just suggest alternative remedies to, where Air Mazel products or your bigger wellness brand could provide solutions to said contacts that you make at the hospital, right? This is just me thinking out of the box, right? But at the end of the day, only like the critical criteria, and you need to decide what's going to work for you. It will be really bad to take something on now and then in 2 months decide you want to walk away. Do you really want to be a start-stop kind of person? But once again, it depends on how critical the timing is for you to actually get that revenue coming in. So those would be my, just off the top of my head, thoughts from what you said, if I understood you correctly.
Yeah, thank you. No, you did a great job of taking those apart and looking at them from a bunch of different angles, which is kind of what I've been up to for the last couple of days. And it is critical. I mean, I've burned through everything in a year. It's been difficult. I mean, so it's critical. And here's the thing is, like, I'm trying to keep everybody up in the air. I'm trying to not lose the offer I have and still try to get an offer from this person I'm communicating with. Have another, the other interview for the hospital is not till Monday. And then at the same time, the airline one, I was trying to negotiate a different training schedule. And I thought, well, just do the training and have it, and then you can decide. But, when I back up a little bit and I look at it, when I came off of the road, I had never worked for an Italian company. I've worked for, the best companies I've ever worked for was a German company and a Scottish company. So definitely European companies are much more realistic, understanding, human. Quality of life is important to them. So it's also important for their external employee, even if they're a US employee. And the companies here have really been awful to work for, to be honest with you. And so I started having issues with, when things started to kind of drop down 6 years ago, they stopped paying my commissions. They stopped reimbursing my expenses. I mean, I just got totally bowled over in credit card interest and just extended. And so it was a distaste, great distaste in my mouth and my heart. I'd given everything for 19 years. That's aside from the retail side of the business. And I have nothing. I have a lot of experience and knowledge and contacts, but I don't, there's nothing much to show for it. So there's a little trepidation on my part. And my family's not supportive at all because, of course, they had to step up and help me. They were supportive of me when it all fell apart the last time. And so I guess, when I was regrouping, I was like, okay, well, what isn't working about it? what do you want? And it, the things that I wanted, and the reason why I went down the wellness path was, being on the road. I mean, it's hard to eat right. It's hard to exercise. It's hard to be calm. It's hard to be healthy. It just is. It's a crazy, frenetic, environment. There's a part of me that loves that. There's adventure. There's so as an artist, there's visual inspiration all the time. You're in someplace different. You're meeting different people. But again, the key things I wanted was to be healthy. I wanted, regain my life. I wanted to get some plants in my house. I wanted another pet. And I wanted to work on my relationships. I didn't even know my community, like I knew a small group of people, but when I moved here, I went on the road and I stayed on the road for almost 18 years. So my friends are really limited here. And so I guess if I've been here for a solid year and I've done all this work in a wellness path, and it's like, am I just not supposed to, is that just not my path? Maybe my path just is that, like, why is it that those landed in front of me first? And, I'm overthinking it, I'm sure. But at the same time, I don't want to let go of an opportunity when the number one thing is I need a regular income stream. And I'm sorry, but my Amazon business is just sucking it out of me, and it's unpredictable each month. And, I'm doing everything I can to get new wellness clients, but that's highly competitive. And again, there's money involved in, I just keep spending money on that, trying to get in front of new people. And, so anyway, sorry, I'm talking too much. I'm just in the thick of it, trying to make a decision, and I appreciate your input. And I just have to keep going back through the pros and cons. So,
yeah,
thank you.
But I think you know the answer, but you just need to go through the process so that when you come out of the process and you make that decision, you know that you've actually looked at everything from every possible side.
Yeah.
I think wellness is definitely who you are. And sometimes Mother Nature, the universe, has a way of testing our resolve when we say we want something by dangling other things in front of us. And it's almost like, well, how badly do you want this thing you say you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there will be distractions, right? I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but it could be. But only you can answer that.
Right.
And I get that you need the regular income, right? That is definitely it's non-negotiable. That is very clear, and that's coming across. You're decided on that. There's no ambiguity. There's no vagueness about that. But it's how you make that happen. And so you need to decide, are you prepared to take on something that's going to distract or detract from your efforts on the wellness side? Because I think you've come a long way to get to where you are in terms of wellness. And you just outlined the negatives of being on the road and the impact that has on your health and on your person, right? So I wouldn't advocate that you go back into that environment that didn't serve you before for 18, 19 years, right? But once again, only you can decide what you're going to do to make that revenue come in and what's going to sit well with you mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. It needs to tick all of those boxes, right? But just work through the process and let your mind really process. And as you process, don't forget to be in tune with how you feel. Every thought that comes up, it doesn't make you anxious, nervous, scared, terrified, happy, relieved, whatever it is. Try and, associate each decision you're making or each process with the feeling associated with it, because that will help you arrive at the decision that's good for you.
Yeah.
And it's a process. Unfortunately, you can't shortchange it. You can't short circuit it. It just has to play out. But I think you have a lot of the information there. You just have to go through it systematically and arrive at something that you can live with. Because you're going to be the one walking in those shoes, right? I can't decide for you, because then you might hate me tomorrow and say, but Ivié said this, right? What was you thinking?
I have such a, there's this hairpin trigger in me to run always. And that comes from, I think, my childhood and my, just my experience, my experiences and traumas. It's run, like the triggers run. And like, that is that's second nature to me. And so sitting still is uncomfortable. So you know, this whole 5 years of this 4.5, 5 years of transition has been so, in one hand, really relieving, but on the other hand, you know, I'm fighting it. I'm fighting that just run always. And so right now it's like, I just choose one, just take the one that's on the plate and put a cork in the hole, the one that's going to sink your ship, and then figure it out from there. but again, at this stage of my life, like I also need to, there needs to be security attached to it somewhere. So that's also a part of it.
For sure.
Anyway, thank you. I know I've taken a lot of time up. Sorry, everyone.
You're absolutely welcome. Absolutely welcome. Virginia, we will round up with you because I see your hand up. Or has she left?
I wanted to just comment actually on Therese. I was trying to look up a quote by Joyce Meyer, and I have it written down in one of my journals, but I wasn't able to find it. But it is something like this: in light of my past experiences and in light or considering my future hopes and dreams, what is the best decision for me right now? So it's something that's kind of paraphrasing it.
Nice.
And I also wanted you to think, how does this make you feel inside when you're considering these different sources of income and what would be involved in it? So does it bring up anxiety? Does it bring up discomfort? Or does it bring up feelings of peace and just positive things coming up, as opposed to, I'm really good at my job, I could continue with it as an income. I don't really like it anymore. It's not what I want to spend my time doing. So I completely relate. And the Italian aspect is very tempting, because then you see that as, well, is this, like Ivié says, possibly the universe tempting you, because it would be part of some of your goals. It might help. I'm going back to Napoleon Hill and trying to do a definiteness of purpose. And then if your definiteness of purpose can open up doors for you of opportunity and attract those into your life. So looking at that. And then Shannon said something recently about, I don't know if it was Adrian Hill or someone that she had coached. And she asked, well, how do you know which invitations to accept? I have so many people inviting me to do this and this engagement, this speaker, this, and the person said they consider every little thing they have to do, their time away from home. What is their commitment to that, to make that come together? And then that's how they decide if they're going to accept that offer to be a speaker. Or so it could be something like that too. What is it going to be involved with you to have to accept the offer, going back into jewelry? What is that going to take out of you on there? So I don't know, those are just little things that came up I wanted to share.
Thank you so much, Virginia. No, that's great. Those are great questions. And it's funny because with all of the pros and cons I've been writing, I definitely have feelings about all of them, but I haven't written any of the feelings down in my pros and cons, which is sort of interesting. So that'll be my focus today. So I really appreciate your input and your insight on that. Thank you. I'm going to do that.
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
I'm going to have to hop off because I actually have to go to work for my corporate job today. Okay, guys.
Thanks, Virginia.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great
Sang,
session.
you wanted to say something? We're going to wrap up with you because we are 1/4 the hour. So yeah, over to you, Hung Sang.
Oh, just really quickly, two things. Ivié, today's points were amazing. Your original point of the discussion, the whole like reframe thing, so true, so needed on a personal level. Because well, I'm not working right now because that job that I got back in October started laying people off. So lovely. But the main thing is the reframe and reminding us to do that. Like, because I know for me, I need to just take it as the opportunity to look for the thing that's truly right for me and stick to my guns. Because last week, this recruiter was trying to convince me to take this job that was not right for me and was also a step down. And, you know, it's kind of like what Teresa's going through, like, you know, is this the right thing for me? And also it's a pay cut. Like, do I want, it's like a second pay. It's like already the last job in October is a pay cut. And now this one, they want me to do, it's another pay cut. And I was trying to convince myself, oh, like, just take it. I'll learn something. It's a different thing where I'll learn something new, but, you know, whatever. But no, it's not even something new that I want to learn where it makes sense to take the pay cut, you know, the whole, like, so yeah. So long story short, like, what I feel you, Therese, because yeah, we need an income, but if there's any way, whatever decision you make, that it's like what everyone's been saying, it has to sit right with you. It has to nurture you and restore your energy so that you're not running around with a high travel type job, right? Like it's more peaceful. You're in town in Portland, giving yourself, restoring your energy, allowing you to have time for relationships, you know, and connect with people and not traveling 90% of the time. I mean, that's so exhausting. I can't even imagine. And then at the end, to everyone's point, like, that it contributes to your bigger vision and your dream, right? Like that, you know, maybe, as everyone's saying, you have to come to the decision yourself. But yeah, going through everything and really evaluating all the pros and cons, that's so true. And yeah, today's session was great. Thank you for the reminder. I need to also stick to my own guns to to be brave enough to be like, no, I want to find the right role. I want to find something that makes my heart sing and makes me feel like I want to get up every day because I like my job, right? Or at least 80%, whatever. And that it gives me time. So I have time to spend time with Elmer and Olivia. Gosh, I've taken so many jobs where I was like working late, and like it was so hard to have a baby, and I'm like working like till 9-10 o'clock at night at the office, like a lot. It was not good. So anyways, whatever. Like, point being, just this, I guess we just need to listen to our hearts, and you know, and it will allow ourselves to pause to listen to our hearts. And fantastic. I feel like it'll help us, if that makes any sense.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Hong Sang. That's the best summary I could have hoped for. So you've done my job for me.
No.
I'm forever grateful.
No,
thank you.
Everyone's inspired us. So thank you.
And thank you so much, Therese, for letting us unpack your situation, because that was a really good example today. Well, everyone, it is 18 past the hour.
Oh, gosh.
The only other thing, no, that's fine. This is good. This is really good. The only other thing we have tonight is Wayne at 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you're awake, if you're available, please dial in. He usually has lovely stories. And I don't know how he always just makes it so timely and so true life. Yeah, so relevant. He's just amazing at that. So that's it for today. Happy birthday again, Janet M. Enjoy your walk. And if I don't see you later, I will see you all tomorrow on General Session.
Thank you, darling.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Bye.